Hey, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel, Plant-Based Storm. I decided to put a video out tonight that shows how to cook spaghetti squash in a way that is not watery. I don't know if you've ever tried to cook it before. I've made it many times where it just came out watery and it just made the whole dish not taste so good. Waters down the sauce. So it took me a while to learn how to cook it in a way that did not happen. I made a recipe video all about that. If you're interested in learning how to cook some spaghetti squash in a way that's tender and not watery, please continue to watch. And if you like what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can see future content. Thanks. Okay, so you want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we're going to cut our spaghetti squash in half. And we're going to get that prepped to get in the oven. You're going to want to scoop all of the seeds and guts out as much as possible. Sometimes it's really stuck in there and kind of hard to get a hold of everything. But you just have to kind of scrape with your spoon. And I had to dig in there with my hand some. But you just want to get out as much of that as is possible. It'll make it better whenever you're cooking. And yeah, just get rid of all of that. Then the next thing we're going to do is cut the spaghetti squash into 1.5 inch rings or so. This is going to lay on the baking sheet like flat, and this really helps keep it from being like wet. I don't know if you've ever cooked spaghetti squash before and it was kind of watery, which waters down your sauce and makes the whole dish not so good. This method keeps it from being so watery. And the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and transfer the spaghetti squash to our baking pan, and I just use a Silpat mat to keep it from sticking. And this is Rebel Roots pepper seasoning, and it is so good. This video is not sponsored anyway. I just love their seasonings. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this into our oven and bake for 15 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and dice up some onion. You can put whatever you want to on your spaghetti squash because it's really going to act just like noodles, any kind of pasta, just as the base. And I decided to do something really simple. I'm going to just do onion, garlic, tomato, and portobello mushrooms. So I like to dice mine up where I don't have big giant chunks in the pasta, or in this case the spaghetti squash. So you just cut it up however you like it. I'm cutting the tomatoes into slivers so that way they will still be big enough after they've cooked down, because tomatoes, just like the mushrooms, tend to cook down somewhat. So then I'm just going to get the portobello cooked, and I like to use the big ones instead of having to cut up a bunch of small ones. You just sort of cut this up and you're good to go. And I'm going to keep this on the chunkier side so that whenever it does cook down, because mushrooms have a lot of water in it and they tend to just shrink after you cook them, I want to be able to taste it. So just like I said, cut it up however you like. And then after 15 minutes, you're going to go ahead and check on your spaghetti squash and give it a flip. And make sure that you put it back in there and cook it for another 15 minutes until it is done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and saute the veggies. I have the pan set on high and had it heating before I put the onions in. I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir, and then we are going to add the garlic in. I'm just going to put in like a tablespoon of garlic, stir that up, add a little bit of water because it is an oil-free recipe, and you can saute any vegetables without oil. Just add a tablespoon or two of water, and then you put the lid on it and let that simmer. You can turn it down to medium or so, and you just want to let it cook down till they're nice and tender. Take the lid off, give it a stir, and just continue to do that until they are at the desired tenderness. I went ahead and added the mushrooms in, And I'm going to let the water cook off the mushrooms. We'll put the lid on. I'm adding some Italian seasoning in it. Again, this is Rebel Roots, and it is so, so good. Next, I'm going to add the tomatoes in and give it a good little stir. Also going to have to let the water cook off the tomatoes because I don't want this to be soggy. And I'm going to add half a lemon because, like I said earlier, this is a salt-free recipe, and this adds some great flavor and brightens the whole recipe up since we're not using salt. And the mushrooms soak up all the seasonings so well. You want to put the lid on and let the water come out of the veggies, and then you just let it cook for a little bit, and you will take the lid back off and you cook it with the lid off until the water cooks out. Now it's time to go ahead and take the spaghetti squash out of the oven and prepare the noodles. And you're just going to get a fork and gently scrape around the edge of the ring, and just do that until it pulls apart and it just shreds naturally, just like a noodle. So easy. And you can see this spaghetti squash has no moisture running out of it whatsoever. It's nice and tender, and it is ready for some sauce. And I decided to add some pizza sauce. I love this brand. It is a Whole30 pizza sauce. There's hardly anything in it. There is a little bit of sodium in it, but it's not so bad. And it's thicker than spaghetti sauce, and it just really, really goes good with this dish. So you just want to take your noodles and put it in a bowl like you normally would, and then you want to dress your pasta or your spaghetti squash noodles however you like. I just added a couple tablespoons of the sauce, and then I'm going to top it with the vegetables that we cooked. And as you can see, I'm going to mix it up, and it is not watery at all, which is awesome. I'm going to add a few little shreds of a plant-based cheese. Follow your heart cheese. It's pretty good, just for a little extra zing, and it's done.